Hello and welcome to my kitchen. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make Methi Gota or Fenugreek fritters. And there are a lot of variations on this recipe. All families have their own different variations of how to make this basic recipe. And I actually got this recipe from my sister-in-law's mother who makes them really well. So I'm using her recipe today. Thank you, Jasuba, for your recipe. So let's get cooking. Now for this recipe, we're going to need fenugreek leaves. And normally I just use frozen fenugreek because it's just so convenient. I have it in my freezer and I can defrost it anytime. But yesterday I went shopping to a local street here in London that sells a lot of Indian things. So this is Kingsbury for all of those of you that are in London and know it. And I got these two huge bunches of fenugreek leaves for £1, which is about $1.25. I mean, this is a lot of fenugreek leaves. So I said, wow, now I have to cook this. What am I going to make? So this is the first recipe that came to mind because we actually really love it. So I'm going to show you today how to clean up the fresh fenugreek leaves, and it's actually very easy. So I'm going to take one of these stems of the fenugreek leaves and we're just going to break off the leaves here. And you can keep a short tender stem on there, but you don't want this thick stem on there. And for the tip, you just break off the tip. If you want, you can remove these flowers. So we're just going to clean up all the fenugreek leaves like that. Once you get the hang of it, it's actually very quick. So here I've got 1 cup of loosely packed fenugreek leaves that I just pulled from the stems. And what I'm going to do with this is put it into a colander and rinse it under cold running water and then let it drain thoroughly before I chop it up and use it in these Methi Gota or any of my other recipes. And if I wanted to freeze it, I do these same steps before freezing it in a zip-tight bag. After giving the fenugreek leaves a good chop, I've ended up with a cup of chopped fenugreek leaves. So I'm going to put that into a large bowl. And I've got a half a cup of chopped coriander here that I'm going to add to the bowl as well. I'm also going to add some chopped potato and chopped onion to this. So what we need is 1 small potato and 1 small onion, but I don't have any small onions or potatoes, so I've got a medium potato here and a medium onion. So I'm going to use half of this potato and half of the onion for this. So I've peeled and washed my potato, and now I'm just going to dice it into very small pieces. And we do this so that the potatoes cook very quickly in there. So you want very small pieces. You can see how small they are. And do the same with the onion as well. And then we're going to add this to our chopped up leaves. Next, I've got 3 spring onions here, which I'm going to chop up finely and add to the mix. I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of minced ginger, a half a teaspoon of minced chilies, and you can adjust that to your taste, 2 teaspoons of coarsely ground coriander seeds, and that actually helps to cool the body, so I like to add enough of that. So 2 teaspoons is good. A half a teaspoon of coarsely ground peppercorn, and I'm using my peppercorn mill for this because freshly ground pepper has more heat than ground pepper that you've kept in a bottle. I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of Hing or Asafoetida, 1/8 of a teaspoon of turmeric, 1/4 teaspoon of red chili powder, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and you can adjust that to your taste, 2 tablespoons of sweet corn, and we add sweet corn because it's nice to have a pop of sweetness when you're eating these, a tablespoon of yogurt. I'm using Greek yogurt. You can use vegan yogurt as well, 1 teaspoon of oil. And now I'm going to add the flours. So I'm adding 1 tablespoon of chapati flour or roti flour, and 1/4 cup at a time I'm going to add the chickpea flour or besan. So I'm going to add 1/2 cup to start with and mix it in. And what you want to see is that the flour is coating all of the vegetables well. So it looks like I need another 1/4 cup of flour in here, so I'm going to add some more and mix that in. So it looks like I need some more flour, some more chickpea flour in there, so I'm going to add another 1/4 cup and mix it in. And now it looks good. So the next thing we're going to do is to leave this dry mix together and let it sit for about 30 minutes. And the reason for doing that is when you have the salt and the spices together with the vegetables in there, the vegetables will release a little bit of moisture. And if I added the water in right now, after some time, my mixture will become too runny because the vegetable will have released its moisture. So this is a tip that Ba gave me, my sister-in-law's mother, and it really does make sense to me. And you know, it's all these little tricks that our elders use that sometimes they don't think about mentioning, but it's those little things that make a big difference in their cooking. And that's why their cooking is always so amazing, because they've learned all these things over time by experimenting and making errors and fixing it. So this is a wonderful tip from Ba, and so let it sit for 30 minutes and then we'll add some water to it and make it into the right consistency. In the meantime, it's coming up to tea time, so I'm going to make myself a cup of tea. While the batter is resting, I've got my equipment ready, so I'm getting ready for frying. So I've got my tray here with paper underneath and paper towels on top. I've got my little pan here with about an inch of oil in there, so I've probably got less than an inch of oil in here this time because we're having trouble buying oil right now, so I'm trying to conserve. And this here, I'm using sunflower oil for frying. I've got my handy dandy slotted spoon. I've also got a fork because sometimes I find it easier to turn the things that I'm frying with a fork rather than my big slotted spoon. I've got a metal tablespoon here because what I'm going to do before I start frying, I'm actually going to mix about a tablespoon or 1/2 tablespoon of oil into the batter and mix it in. And this is another trick that all the Bas, all the great grandmothers and grandmothers know. And what I think it does, and I'm not sure about this, but what I think it does is it prevents the bhajiyas or whatever you're frying absorbing too much oil. It kind of equates everything out and balances it out so that it doesn't suck up all the oil while it's frying. So that's why I have the spoon, and we're going to be adding some Eno, which is fruit salts, which kind of makes the Methi Gota bubble up before they're fried, so they do expand a little bit, and this makes them really nice and light and fluffy. So I'm probably going to add about a teaspoon of this into the mix before I fry it. So now let's check the batter. Oh wow, you can definitely tell that the moisture has come out from all the fenugreek leaves, the methi leaves, the coriander, the potato, the onion, the corn and everything. So look at that, it's really coming together. So this is why you don't add water straight away, because you definitely could end up adding too much water. So now what I'm going to do is add enough water just to make it into a thick batter. So add a little bit at a time. And I actually think I need some more flour in here. So I'm going to add another 1/4 cup of chickpea flour in here. So in total, I've added 1 1/4 cups of chickpea flour and 1 tablespoon of chapati or roti flour. See, now this is starting to look like a better consistency. What I was seeing before was that the leaves and the vegetables were too far apart and not being combined with the flours. Okay. So this is a good dropping consistency. See, I'm going to be dropping it like this into the oil. So that looks good to me. So at this point, you can taste it and adjust the seasonings. So now I'm going to get ready to fry. I'm going to turn on my heat on a medium heat, the number 6. And to give you an idea of how much water I ended up adding to the batter, it's just over 1/4 cup. So, but add it based on your dough, because your dough, your batter might be different to mine. So measure it and just make it into a medium thick consistency so that you can drop it. If it's too thin, it's just going to come out flat and it won't come out right. And if it's too thick, I don't know, it just won't come out. I think they'll be very dry. So make sure it's not too thick or too thin, just a droppable consistency. So now I'm going to add the enos or the fruit salts to the batter. And I said I was going to add a teaspoon to it, but a teaspoon's too much. So I'm going to add about 1/2 teaspoon to this mixture. You can add a little bit less as well. And I'm going to mix it in and you'll see that it starts to bubble. Well, you may not be able to see the bubbles, but I can hear it and I can feel that it's become a little bit more frothy, which is what you're looking for. So my oil has come to temperature. I'm just going to turn it down a notch and I'm going to take a little bit of the oil, so about a tablespoon worth, and mix it into my batter. You hear that little bit of sizzle. So I'm just going to mix that in. And to fry it, I'm just going to check that it's come to temperature by dropping a little bit of batter in, and I'm pretty sure it has. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of the batter and just drop really small balls in, because they will expand. And then just toss them in the oil using my fork. And I don't like large gotas of this methi gota, because we're not really making them to sell them, we're making them to enjoy them. And this way you get a lot of the crispy outer part of it, much more of that when they're smaller, you know. They come out really nice. So this is how I like them. If you like them larger, that's totally fine. Make them bigger, and just make sure that you cook them all the way through. This way they cook a little bit quicker too. Just keep tossing them with your fork. And you want them a lovely, like a reddish brown color. So they look done, so now I'm just going to carefully remove them to my tray. And then just repeat the process. So good. And there you have it. That's how we make Methi na Gota or fenugreek fritters. Now, if you don't have fresh or frozen fenugreek leaves available, then just substitute coriander leaves for it, or cilantro leaves in the US, and make them. They're gonna be really, really delicious. They won't be methi na gota because the methi is the fenugreek leaves, but they'll be still really, really yummy. So definitely try them. And look at these, they're so cute. They're little and so nice and like crunchy on the outside, lovely on the inside. They taste amazing. I've eaten like 10 of them already. So definitely try out this recipe. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you all soon for some more cooking inspiration. Always good to have my coriander mint chutney ready to go for just this kind of occasion. It goes really well. You got home just in time.
Yeah.
Some green chutney.
Have some.
Nice.
Methi na gota.
Tops it
Tasty.
off. Perfect.
Yeah?
Good. You just made them.
Yeah.
Once you start.
I know. Oh. It's hard to stop.
Have to stop though.